Hello and happy Mother's Day to my US mamas. I don't know if it's Mother's Day in the UK too. Anyhow, last Sunday it was Mother's Day here, and I did a video that talked about how I was handling raising two babes. And today I wanted to do a different video that shared a little bit about how I prepared for and lived my ideal birth experience with Ella. Just want to share some of the resources that were super useful for me, general gems of knowledge, and advice. Okay, keeping in mind that giving birth is just the first step of your parental journey. It's a big one, but it doesn't stop there. So starting off, read books. I read, I want to say like 40 or 50 books, and that is intense. Not everybody has to do that, but I think it's important to get some information. I'm not going to share all of them, but a few I think that stood out for me. So like Birthing from Within is a good one because it gets you doing exercises and like practical stuff too. What I didn't like about it was that it always talks about birth as painful and like hold ice in your hand, see how long you can do it, and when you're in birth, think of the contractions like that. I don't know, it was like, this is dumb. That part I didn't like about it. But like Ina May's Guide to Childbirth is super, super useful because it's a bunch of birth stories, good stuff. And lots about how, oh, that's Miss Ella. Lots about how they dealt with different birth stories and cases, and how most of them were natural without a problem. And then The Emotional Life of the Toddler for after birth. That one we refer back to a lot. This is another good one for birth, which is hypnobirthing, which I didn't use, but I did use something cool from this, which was basically writing yourself a letter of gratitude, which I'll get to. Magical Child is a good one too. It's a classic. And there's a bunch, but I'm only going to show you guys those because it's like, otherwise, what are we doing? Are we doing a book review? 2, Perennial Massage. I think that was a big part of the reason I didn't tear. We started them at 32 weeks because my OBGYN said that I had the whole area super like activated, which is good in general, but for birth, it's not. It needs to be like super elastic and no issues down there, basically, that could keep it too tight. So we started that at 32 weeks, and it was a time for us to kind of connect. David and I, we would put Edward to sleep. We'd put the lights down low. I used almond oil. We also spent that time like thinking of baby names and practicing the positive affirmations when he was doing the exercises. So we would say, just using that time to get prepared and also to relax and make it romantic. Hire a doula. So I know this is a much more typical in the States. It's not here. It's almost like a taboo. But I think that it really allowed me to be in the zone, because I had someone there who was supporting me and guiding me through the adventure without having to think. The last thing that you want to do is use your brain. You really want to just zone in on your body and the rhythms and harmonize with your body. And that really allowed me to do that, because David can just be a support for you, but he's not a gynecologist, he's not a midwife, he doesn't know about any of that stuff, so you can't really put pressure on him to help you through these things. And I think the doula is great for that. She really guided me through my birth stages and always knew what was the best next step, and that kept me from getting stressed, and I just was super serene and surfing the waves, So I highly recommend a doula. And I was also doing the Laxmi method training, which I'm still doing, as well as a pelvic floor training I did too. And all of that was just to really help me further understand the anatomy, right? And speaking of anatomy, number 4, understand the pelvic anatomy watch birth videos. You got to see it to believe it, right? So that's a super important thing to remember. Seeing how baby travels through the birth canal is I think crucial to understand and trust your body and believe that a 10-pound baby can pass through the birth canal and you won't die. Okay. So I would watch birth videos also. Like, I mean, I have a pelvis, but it's got the pelvic floor and perineal muscles, so you can't really see how it opens here, but you know, our pelvis opens here and here in order to get baby out, to give baby more space, and of course the coccyx moves. So I mean, all of that stuff is just like really helpful, I think, to integrate the process into your body. Otherwise it's like, oh my God, how does that even happen? And thinking that is not helpful. Number 5, practice positive affirmations. So those were a big thing for me, and I got a lot of them from Ina May Gaskin's books. I also got some of them from not from Spiritual Midwifery, but this is another good one. And not from this one either. Well, good Lord. From this one, Shamanic Wisdom for Pregnancy and Parenthood. Got some really good ones out of there. And those were super helpful before. So like when we were doing the perineal massage, which is not comfortable, right? And also when I was dealing with sciatic nerve issues, we would use them in that circumstance as well. And obviously during the birth. So just some good ones so you guys have an idea of what they're like. You are the process, you are the strength of the contractions, you are the dynamism of intensity calling forth life, calling forth transformations. Sometimes it can feel bigger than you, but never forget that it is you. You are that big, that strong, that powerful. You are that strength, you are that power, you are birth. Trust your body, don't fear it. I want to open up. My pelvis is capable. I need the contractions. I want the contractions. Expand, unfold, trust. So all kinds of things that were that motivated me. And I think that right at the end of the birth, right before the expulsion phase, what I needed to hear was surrender to the contractions. Let them flow through you. That's what I needed. Then there was, writing a letter of gratitude to your body, imagining that you've already given birth. So this creates a positive stimulus in your brain and your subconscious about birth. And as your mind doesn't distinguish between imagination and reality, it works, right? So just writing yourself a letter and explaining like how the birth went and thanking thanking your baby, thanking everybody who helped you. Super, super useful. Number 6, have orgasms. Duh. With a vibrator. That's what I did most of the time because David was working and because sometimes it's just easier to do it by yourself. You feel me? Getting in touch with your uterus through orgasm and dance. So like body rolls and stuff like this, and gets you in touch with them, gets it toned. The orgasm is produced in the uterus, just like the contraction. So like getting the uterus more toned will mean less discomfort, because you're used to using it, right? If you're using it for the first time, it's probably going to be more uncomfortable giving birth. Get that oxytocin going. Nipple stimulation too, if you're into that. Relax. That's a big one. So when we're scared, the uterine cervix literally closes up. So if you're scared, the contractions are less effective and more painful. Another thing, a good thing that I did to prepare, like a couple days before the birth, was hot showers, candles, having sex, laughing, meditating, taking walks, raspberry tea leaf infusions. Those I did those a lot. Breathing and vocalizing, waiting for baby to come is an art. Nowadays, right? We can't wait for anything. So it's really hard not to be like, oh, let's just fucking induce it. But there is a huge benefit in waiting for the physiological process to start on its own. Get a Pilates ball. So spend a lot of time on the ball and get your blood flowing to the perineal muscles. That also gets it more and more ready. for the big process. Stay active, right? So birth is serious exercise, probably the most intense exercise that you'll ever have. And a great way to be ready for it is by staying in shape. She's getting mad back there. She's getting mad. She's like, Mama, I gained 45 pounds, so it's not really about like not gaining weight, but mostly just to have your body ready, okay? And number 10, super important, stop thinking about birth as pain. I think that was the big one for me, to think about them as serious sensations that take all of your attention. Because otherwise it's super easy to fall into the trap of like, oh, this hurts, my period hurts, everything about my uterus hurts. Think about your uterus as a pleasure orgasm, right? It's where a pleasure organ. It's where orgasms are produced. It doesn't have to be painful. So try and transform that into just the intense sensations that they are. They're what's going to bring you to your baby. So those are my 10 pieces of advice that I think were super useful, and I hope they're helpful for everybody. And once again, just a happy Mother's Day to all my mamas and future mamas, and we should let everybody spoil us today, okay, and every day for all the work that we do. Okay, sending love. Got to get back to Ella. She's upset.